Party started. We're recording. So awesome to meet.
Likewise.
Sounds like you're an artist as well.
I'm an entrepreneur that has found the art as a stupid human trick. And
Cool. And tell me more about that. So you always had an interest in art, or?
Yeah, I mean, I joined the Army right after high school and put away childish things. But the more I have leaned into my playful side, the more effective I've been as a marketer, copywriter, whatever. And it just seems to be how do you differentiate yourself? How do you create a category of one? And when you pick up a marker and draw in front of a room, you're drawing on somebody's brain directly. And it has been a profound way to categorize myself as a combat imagineer and play off all of my combat engineering adventures and build bridges that didn't previously exist and close gaps. And for me, I've been saying I'm clearing the way for more fun on the front lines of capitalism. And that line has been continuously allowing me to open doors that I have not previously been able to open. So just kind of been working on my scripting, and I have just been playing on this card. Like I say cartoons, but they're much more. They're the direct response doodles. They're pictures that solve problems. Or all this stuff. But people have told me that it's cartoons, but they're not. I mean, they're much more profound than that. But I rather than fight with people, I just call them whatever you want. Just make them laugh and take their money. I don't care. Like, whatever you want to call me, that's fine as long as we're getting the results. So.
Awesome. Yeah. So kind of to set the context for if I use this video down the road, with any kind of insights that we can help share with others on the whole doodling and drawing to sell. I put an email out to my list. You're on the list, and I said we need some beta testers. And essentially, I shared with you kind of the napkin close, what I've done in my own business and what I want to help others do in their businesses to help close more sales on that front. So you responded saying, yeah, I'm interested, sign me up. And I guess out of that, what captured your interest with that initial email, and what did you see or hear that made you want to respond? And then we can start the conversation there.
So I've been on your list because I'm also a Dan Kennedy student, and you have been paving the way with your AdTunes videos and really set the bar very high for anybody who wants to create a doodle video. Like you've paved the way. And so I thought I wanted to try to empower salespeople to be able to give them some simple tricks, because they don't need to be an artist. They just need to have some simple things. So I saw so I started going down this road of I'm going to create an adult coloring book for cartoons for closers. And I visually summarized my time with Agora Financial. So I have their entire copy camp cartooned out. And so I saw it as an opportunity to get face-to-face with you, because I don't really want to be in the business of creating VSLs with cartoons. I want to be in the creating a full sales presentation that scales online and off with it's a webinar. We know it's a webinar, but it's if you have a webinar-centric conversion mechanism, you can put a video on the front end of it. You can take your webinar, turn it into a book, and then turn your book into either a coaching program or consulting packages or whatever else. So I just see what you're doing, and I think we could play well together. And I wanted to get in front of you to show you that I'm a easy to work with kind of person. And we're playing in the same pond with blending cartoons and sales, but in complementary, non-competitive type ways. So that's why I wanted to get in front of you and see what you're doing and how we can play well together as well.
Yeah. So when you talk about drawing on someone's brain, what do you mean by that? I love that phrase, and it's intriguing to me, and want to hear more about what you have to say about that.
When you have the courage to stand up in front of a room and commit to writing on the creative act of even if it sucks, you're still like, there was not a dark line on that white thing before, and now there is, and everybody's going to watch you do it. Like whether you are the most skeptical, jaded COO, like this is never going to work in my business, to the most enthusiastic salesperson that like you've got their attention. Like you're on. Yeah. And if you can make it like entertaining while you're doing it, it's both a showing and it's a show and tell from like the earliest ages possible. You're exhibiting authority in a fun and playful way, and they want to see you perform, and they'll just suspend that skepticism for just a few more seconds. It's all you need. And then if you show them that you have just this ability that's a little bit more than them, like they try, like they can't do it. So yeah. You're better than them at this art thing, and you're making sense with how you're explaining it. And it's like, what else do you know that it just allows you to just pull that thread just longer and longer, that, oh, this guy really does know what he's talking about. And he's not he's not an asshole. And like this, like, they're all like, hey, we're all on the same page. You're communicating in a way that's louder than words. It's like, it's all of those things. So I've just leaned into it. I've turned a caricature of a client into a massive consulting project. And so like taking 3-panel cartoons, started doing storyboarding my webinar, started doing all this stuff. And the more I could do it live, the more, it's getting a lot more, like this whole sketchnote community is a thing now. Visual facilitation is a thing now. And so there's enough people who are really pioneering this, where someone who knows how to sell something can really, build on their paving the road. So
sure. So I know when you talk about this, we call it here at AdTunes, like the benefit to AdTune is, and we've seen this in the results. I've experienced it personally as a young man, but as soon as someone gets out this and goes and says, let me draw it out for you, there's an instant letting the guard down, right? And there's a hypnotic relaxation wave that comes over you and makes you want to just zone out. I mean, we've had countless people call us, and this is the social proof that we need. They all say, well, we've watched 10, 20 videos on your site. We have no interest in whatever, those things that you're selling, but we just had to watch. What is that? That is the creative energy that I think is in all of us, and the power of, just like you said, just having the confidence, even if you suck. And you take this out and you go to the board and you draw with confidence, people are just blown away. And it's what I say is, it's that creativity in us all. We all like to create. We were all born creators. And that's in our world, that's kind of the glue that behind the success with the whiteboard. And so, but I'm curious to know, when you discovered that for yourself, when you could feel that, relaxation come over you when you observe someone else taking a pen and start drawing in front of you, trying to communicate that? Because I have a story of my own that I'll share after you share yours.
I was just doing it because I was putting bowling balls in. When I'm talking direct response to people who are not savvy at this, I'm putting bowling balls in their hands, and they can handle one, maybe two, and they're looking at me. And I'm like, I'm just getting warmed up. I'm asking them to juggle stuff, and I'm asking them questions that they've never thought about before that make so much sense, that they want to engage with me, but they can't. They're just like, this hurts too much, and so I rather just pretend this stuff doesn't exist. And I pretend. So I was losing sales, even though they like, dude, like, you're clearly brilliant, but I cannot handle this, what you're trying to do to me. And like, you're stretching me way too far. Sure. So what I would do was to say, well, I would lose the sale by being too smart.
Yeah.
And so I said, well, let me, instead of me overwhelming you with this stuff, let's make the piece of paper the enemy. Here's what I'm hearing you say, and here's what I'm this is what it sounds like you're doing to me. I'm like, I'm just showing them like on the, like, here's what you're saying. Here's the money that you're like, and the paper becomes the enemy. And then they're like, and then I'm like, well, the sales call is about to be done. Like I'm about to go away now. And they're like, whoa, I want that paper. Oh, you want the paper? You want this thing? Well, this paper is about this thing is gone with me. Like, this is mine. This is my thing. So if you want to get started, we can absolutely, we can start working on this plan right here. Yeah. But otherwise, I got you. Like, we created it together. Yeah. And then, but it's mine. I put it in my pocket and I walk away, or I say, well, maybe you don't want to buy it, but maybe the guy across the street who has a kind of an identical business to you, maybe he would find this interesting and be able to implement on it with a little bit of help. I don't know. But. Sure.
After you started implementing that approach, the visual presentation, mapping out, whatever they call it these days, what would you guess the percent was on the people that you could close and get in the door by just mapping out for them visually?
If I can get in front of someone that is qualified, it has been 100% in some capacity, whether they choose to work with me now, or I can introduce them to somebody they can trust and say, hey, this is what we talked about, and this person will be able to take care of you. And I've set up strategic partnerships with people that they might not be right for me, but I use this as an icon or as like an artifact of our relationship, and I can just file that away. So I draw them a little cartoon, hey, like whatever, it goes on a postcard, it goes on whatever else. But anyone that, like, if I got it right, they're working with me, or I'm monetizing that relationship in some capacity. So anyone who's willing to listen to me do this stuff, it works. So
yeah. So have you used, like you just described, being able to map out their value proposition or how you might help them with their marketing approach? Have you ever used it in a selling tool fashion?
So when I write webinars for clients, I have their salespeople use this kind of thing. Like I say, here, like, draw a triangle on like I learned this stuff from like Chet Holmes stuff. Draw a triangle. Here's where you're at, and and I get them to put their money math into whatever visual that I'm having them describe. Because people, if you create it with them, they value it more, and you make it uniquely for them. So I have empowered the salespeople that run my webinars to involve their clients. So both for me and for the clients I consult with, absolutely. Like I try to impart on them, sales training that is very simple, of just like, here's the doodle that we created, and here's how we can you can use your one-to-many selling prop presentation, whether webinar or live or whatever, to empower your customers in order to do business with you. So yes.
Sure. Okay. And I think the original intent of this was to help you visualize your offering to them so that you could essentially do it, communicate it clearly enough. Is that something that you're still interested in working through?
Yeah, I don't have effective lead generation stuff for what I do, because my direct marketing to these people has worked so well. I have not done much inbound, because I'm able, like, I've picked my 100 dream clients, and I just started working a list, and all of a sudden, like, dang it, like I've already got it's working. So I haven't needed to do a attraction type marketing, but as I scale up my business and start turning, like, I got 93 different ways to ask for a referral without sounding like a dickhead, right? So how do I facilitate that and kind of build a real business rather than just me being a dancing bear, Yeah. So I'm entertaining all that kind of, what do I need to do to build a real business besides just a badass cartoon copywriter, whatever. So
Sure. Real quick before we go any further, how long have you been doing it?
I have been running my own business as a copywriter for about 5 years. I have always doodled. I went to Renegade Millionaire with Dan Kennedy, and I visually summarized the whole thing in 2016, 2017, whatever. And I just used it. I just walked around and said, hey, this is what Dan is saying. I know that you guys can't do this on your own. Who here wants my visual notes? And then of those people, do you want help implementing any of these strategies? So I did that. I walked away from that, a $12,000 seminar with like $120,000 worth of consulting, and then showed Dan exactly what I did once I worked those clients and made a bunch of money. And he promoted me back out to his newsletter list. And that filled like my pipeline for a while. And then I got seduced by Agora Financial recruited me. And I got seduced by the fact that I could sit in a basement in Baltimore in Google Docs and just pump out $5 million a year. Like that's the reality. And like, well, it can be done. Yeah. So I got suckered into moving to Baltimore, and to entertain myself, I just drew caricatures of everybody, and visually, like, their copy camp is it's infamous. It's awesome. So I did that. And so I'm turning that in my adventures in sales alchemy from Agora Financial, and turning that into a book and ultimately like a B2B, I'll train your copywriting staff thing. Just trying to sell my sawdust. So I've been building that out, and that I've left Agora in April. So I've been back just writing financial copy for life insurance agents and get rich quick on the internet stuff sometimes.
Okay.
But,
Cool.
Yeah.
Do you have any samples to share of your stuff?
Yeah, I've got winners, and I'm trying to only show people my fitness, financial, and fine art stuff. So I'm trying to not work, because I've done some, like, when you're good at a whole bunch of stuff, it's hard not to take, like, when you're getting started, you just take money from anybody. So I'm only showing samples of my badass fitness stuff, and like, that's cool. And the financial stuff is I have controls with Agora, and then the fine art stuff, I have a badass fine art connoisseur, and I'm doing affluent art events and curating these like one-of-a-kind art experiences that I'm like just basically setting up strategic alliances and joint venture brokering with, like, I set up a joint venture between a yacht broker and a yacht insurance guy, and then we're doing like art on the yacht thing. Because I don't know if you saw the article that came out, the $450 million Da Vinci piece. That was perfect timing with this thing that I'm doing, because I talked to the yacht broker, and he goes, "Oh yeah, I just sold a $30 million yacht, but there was $100 million worth of art on the boat that we had to piece out too." Yeah. I'm just like, and it just going to some dumbass like who just just pushing paper and just printing money. I'm like, man, what if we actually like sell something? Like, I don't know. So,
wow.
Yeah.
So let's see some of your stuff, if you don't mind sharing. And so let me ask you this. So Agora is essentially inviting you to take a sales letter, put cartoons to it, copy doodles, that kind of stuff, and then now you've got the control, and they're trying to beat that, or are you actually writing it and doodling it and everything?
So I wrote stuff for James Altucher. We sold his Altucher Report newsletter, which is 79 typical, like, we front end sale, and then back end we sold his self-publishing course, which is a high ticket, because he's written like 27 New York Times best-selling books. He had the best-selling book in all of Amazon for some crazy amount of days and stuff. So I did not draw cartoons for AF. I just wrote copy for them, and then I just took their training, and I cartooned it, and I got their blessing in order to sell it as a copy training. Right now, Todd Brown sells their training, the Agora Copy Camp, but it's just like 3 years old, and it's just a GoPro video. I created worksheets and visuals of the whole entire thing instead of just like them talking. I like visually made it very impressive and created like step by step, so we can go from idea to income in 30 days or less now. And I want to sell it back to Agora, and we're talking about it, but ultimately I'm just selling the like a book and then course of my version of my adventures with Agora Financial. So, which they said, as long as I don't make them, they don't want me competing with them for copywriters. Like, they don't want me to recruit a team and do my own thing in competition with them. And I'm like, cool, because I don't really want to do that either. Yeah. And they're like, don't make us sound like a bunch of dickheads. Like, then don't write a whole bunch of hyperbolic copy and trade on our name too hard. Like, of course, you were here and we made some money together. We're all good, but keep it. Don't don't get too crazy. Like if we need to tell you to chill it out, we're good. But so far, I've just kept them. Here's what I'm doing, and Joe Schrieffer is the executive publisher, and he's like, "Hey, man, rock and roll, man. Like hope you come back someday." So.
Nice. So when we're talking, for everyone out there as they're listening in, when we're talking about going to the whiteboard and drawing cartoons, obviously it's not a high level comic cartoon or even an ad tune. They're just what I call cavemen art, cavemen and women, icons and arrows and things of that nature. Is that, in your experience, the same in what you found?
That's all you need.
Yeah.
You need some boxes with some words and some stars, arrows. That's all you need, and that's enough. You don't in fact, if I get to, I'm actually a good artist. I'm taking fine art courses and like doing this stuff. But if I get super detailed, it intimidates the shit out of everybody. Like the art gets in the way. I need the ideas to go right to the brain. It's not about the quality of my art. It's about the idea that gets imprint. Like mental dynamite is what I call it. Like I want you to see something that you cannot unsee once you see it. And if I get too detailed, they're like, oh, well, the only reason you're able to do all this stuff is because you're just so talented, but you're such a great artist. And of course people listen to you because you're so phenomenal. Like I'm a blue collar, like I'm a construction worker who learned how to like write copy. That is it. Like I don't want to go back to stack and steel. So here I am doing like this thing and I just happen to make it more fun with some doodles. So yeah, absolutely. Simple.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to show you what I do when I'm closing folks on the AdTunes front, and you can take it and leverage it, use it, and maybe it'll give you some ideas. Would that be okay with you?
Absolutely.
So, okay, so here we go. So, essentially when it comes down to why I started doing this, and I actually have them draw on the other side of the phone. I'm not belly to belly. My team and I are closing over the phone. So it just drove me nuts, Eric, that, I would get done explaining everything and then I'd go to tell them the price and they're like, okay, yeah, well, no, what am I getting again? And I would just go, And so what I do is I just essentially start from scratch and I say, you have a piece of paper in front of you. Why don't you go ahead and just draw a 1 by 1 inch square in the middle of that page. And I say, let me know when you're done. I get paid by the hour. And they go, okay, yeah, got it. And then I say, in that first piece, I want you to write a 2.5 minute educational video or ad tune. And essentially, I wait for them to catch up. You got that? Yeah, okay, got it. And then from there, I'll draw out, I'll say, draw another 1 by 1 inch square box to the right of that, connect it with a line. And in that, I want you to draw a 50-second, right in there, 50-second highlight trailer. You have that? Okay, yeah, got that. And then I just go through and map out everything. And it's, in the Russell Brunson world, it's the stack.
Mm-hmm.
I'm building the stack that Russell, and he got it from Armin Morin, and all these people talk about doing so they can see the value built in front of them. So from there, the lower box is a 10 to 12 page ebook lead magnet. And this is where we'll write out a complete ebook, we'll illustrate it, design it, and essentially hand them a camera-ready PDF. And then the last item, and this could go on and on forever, but in our base package, we'll go in and write up 10 to 14 screen captures of every completed scene. And so now they can start seeing, well, you know, I'm actually getting 2 videos for the price of 1, and they're going to build me an ebook that I can take and build my email list with. You know, on top of that, I'm going to be able to use these pictures on social media and be able to kind of further promote, you know, maybe with another tagline over top of that, all the stuff that we do here. And so, you know, we've skinned the buffalo many different ways to repurpose that piece to then be able to provide more value and get more in exchange. Mm-hmm. So, you know, that at a high level, just like you're saying, it's just simple boxes, lines. If you want to put a star in there, a happy little star. You know, if you want to add other items, add-ons, I mean, it's just a matter of just sitting down and brainstorming what it is that we offer here, what's our core competence, and just, you know, with different objects and icons, illustrating it. So that's kind of what we do here. I don't know if you do anything like that on that front when you're kind of walking. It sounds like you've got plenty of leads, and, you know, it's just a matter of you closing them over the phone, or how does that work? They just come to you?
A combination of the two. People come to me because they want a sales letter typically. Yeah. And I say, well, are you sure you need are you really so sure you need a sales letter? I mean, how much can you spend in order to acquire a customer? And really, you know, all the very typical Dan Kennedy stuff. Why are people actually doing business with you versus every other option available to them, including doing nothing at all? So what you really need, what I do is I draw a circle in the middle, and I put W for like a winning, whether I like to use a webinar, but because you can test it. It's a conversation with your marketplace.
Can you do a share on your end and draw it out?
I'll just do it right. I'll do it real quick right here.
Yeah, or even that back thing you could probably use too, but
yeah, that's got a clean piece of paper on there.
Okay.
I draw that right there.
Okay, cool. I'm gonna stop talking. You just walk me through it. I want that to go on the screen.
It's like we have the webinar in the middle, and the same thing. Like I have my iPad that I just didn't connect it because I wasn't prepared. But same thing. I say I like using a webinar, but a webinar is a one-to-many sales presentation. Your top sales guy probably has you by the balls and is making more money than you want to really give him, but he's invaluable to you. So how do we leverage your team's time and talent and turn a sales presentation into a training tool and really into a profit center? We use a webinar, and then there's things that happen before, during, and after that webinar that you can monetize. And there are people who are hot and ready. They don't need the webinar in order to convert, so they're ready to pick up the phone and buy from you. The people who need to have more of a wooing, want to have a conversation with you, and a webinar is a way to have a conversational approach to selling your widget. And then afterwards, you want to educate and motivate your existing clients for why they want to buy from you again, as well as you can take that winning sales presentation, turn it into a web and nook, an advertorial web and nook, and the people who were not ready to buy from you to begin with, who saw the webinar, didn't convert, or never did register, but they bought something else from you, you can direct mail that to them. And now you're having you're showing up unlike anybody else ever will with an illustrated and proven sales process. And you're just getting them you can call behind, just make sure that they got the thing. You're showing up you're circumventing search. And it's a shock and awe package. It's part of it. So again, you can splice that webinar up in so many different ways, and just about creating leverage for your team. And so who else is going to project manage this thing and go from post-it note to profit in 30 days or less and guarantee you a 2% response, or I'm going to rewrite the thing for you until we do get it. And I don't know any other copywriters who can write scripts, design slides, and give you a structure to actually implement all this stuff, like soup to nuts, as fast as humanly possible and scale you online and offline. I don't know anyone else and guarantee their work. So when you find that person, please let me know, because I'll hire them to do mine, because I've invested a lot of time and money doing this with people. So, so far that's worked pretty well. I haven't had to go much further beyond that.
So. Yeah, that's awesome. So since we are talking about the visual close, I'm going to draw this for you, and you're gonna be my you're going to be the brain, and I'm going to draw it. Okay. Mm-hmm. So what I saw in that quick illustration was a W in the middle for winning webinar, correct?
Mm-hmm. Right.
And you said there's things that happen on the front end, things that happen on the back end, and then you also turn into a Webinook, which is a kind of a webinar book.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So how many things on the front end do you kind of point out? I mean, you don't have to go into everything, but is it just introductory emails to get them in, ads to get them into the webinar?
They need a registration page. They need email drivers to that registration page. Yep. And I would prefer them spend no more than $1,000 testing Facebook ads. So I will provide them a Facebook ad if they don't have a very responsive list, or a list that's where they want it to be. Because we want to drive 1,000 clicks to that registration page to validate that registration copy, the value proposition for them even showing up to the webinar.
Yep, love it. Okay, so there's 1,000 clicks. They're coming in ads and emails, correct?
Correct.
For that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so once they're into that registration, eventually the webinar goes off. And you had some other little items here. Is that what's going on during the webinar?
I need to find out whether people show up, pay up, and follow up.
And follow up?
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. Okay. And then from here, I would imagine there would be another sequence of emails that go out saying, mm-hmm. Hey, if you missed this webinar, come check it out. Correct?
Right. It's all the encore stuff. And then how do we leverage all that marketing copy that was written by an A-list copywriter or whatever, professionally written, copywritten. How do we take that entire thing and change the channel with it so that you can get multiple years of life out of this thing?
So essentially it's driving them back to that webinar. It's just further closing them, take action, correct?
And it's the script. So it's the script of what you actually say on the webinar, the landing page, whether they are going to go to they're going to buy right from the webinar, or if it's $1,000 or more to schedule a phone call to talk to an actual salesperson. So the script on the webinar, the script after the webinar, and all the copy that continues to have that conversation.
That's awesome. Okay. So copy for, what would you call that? Live? What did you call that? I just did a brain.
The live presentation, the conversational copy, as well as depending on what the product is.
Over the phone too, mm-hmm. For their sales team?
Correct.
Yeah, cool. So everyone out there in TV land and YouTube land, you can see that this is pretty amazing value proposition and value he's providing to his clients. I mean, visually just showing everything, mm-hmm. Right? You're getting all this value. Let me get the highlighter. You're getting value there to drive into the webinar, and then value on the webinar, what the heck to even say. And then all the value on the back end is the follow-up is done so that once it's done and it's converting, it's a freaking cash cow. Correct?
Correct. And it's guaranteed. So where I really make my money is in, I want a royalty on after we hit a certain, it's $50,000 to do this. Once we hit $500,000, then I want 5% ongoing from that ongoing sales.
Who would turn that down, right? They're getting the lion's share. You're just getting a cut of the action.
And anytime it dips below because I want to continue, I want it performing as high as possible. So if we can get 20% conversion, great. But I guarantee at least a 2% conversion because I want that 5% as high as possible. And the second it dips down, then I go back and I start messing around with stuff.
Yeah.
So because I want this thing to last for as long as possible, right? So.
And you said financial,
fitness, and fine art. So like the hidden language of the affluent is like it's a barter currency essentially. The fine art stuff, and it's unique experiences and it's all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So cool. Neat. And do you have this automatized, or do you
manual labor?
What's that?
It's all manual labor right now.
Okay. So the shoemen's kids don't have shoes approach?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so cool. So are you familiar with what we do in terms of visual mapping? And let me see if I can take a picture of that real quick. And save that bad boy. So you've been on our list for a long, long time, correct?
I have been a fan of what you do.
Awesome, awesome. And so are you familiar with our marketing maps, perchance?
Not exactly.
Okay, so I'm going to share this to this screen now. See, I just got involved with Zoom, Eric, and I'm in like the Zoom, like the Twilight Zone. It's like I'm so amazed with all the different things you can do, and then it's somewhat frustrating at times. But let me see if I can share. Okay, here we go. So these are what we call our marketing maps, right? This was done for a client, Bob Mingott, who essentially has software that will allow leads to come in, leads to be converted, and it's all done for docs, right? And essentially in the upper left, we have social media, YouTube, direct mail. And so this tells a story to docs to get them bought into the software more, right? So many people, it varies with sales. Like a lot of people don't even cover what's under the hood. Other people want to know kind of roughly what it's all about. So this takes it from a 30,000 foot view, just give me the broad strokes, to speak in metaphorical phrases that you've been speaking in all day. And essentially from there, just give me the overarching view of kind of what is happening with the software. So many leads come in, turn into prospects. So many of those leads turn into appointments. So many turn into consultations. And then we close so many out of there. All the while, he's airdropping his team in to help with the staff, help with raving reviews, help with other elements in the business. And in this section, we have essentially all the objections. Well, I already have a website. What do I need this for? That kind of stuff. And here's some testimonials from docs. And by the way, this software keeps track of leads, sees how many are qualified and converted, and how many of those turn into sales. So this is something that I had at a conference, and I'm sharing it with folks, showing them that we can visualize your sales proposition, and they're all like, well, how do I get my hands on the software? And here, I don't know anything about the software. I just knew enough, watched a couple of Zoom calls, illustrated this out, and they all want to know more about the software. So then I start thinking, wow, this is really a tool that, someone could help scale their business with. Even a junior sales person could go in and kind of walk people through, qualify the leads and things of that nature. But then we turned it into a PowerPoint presentation as well, so that everyone that sees this, Eric, is like, oh my gosh, it's too busy. What's going on? And so we can now take that and turn it into PowerPoint presentation and break it down in chunks so that people can understand it easier and from a high level. So that's kind of what we do on the marketing map front. What do you think of that? Pretty cool, huh?
I love it. It's a one-page pitch. It's a comic book, but it's not funny. It's like it's engaging that you could just hand out that one page to everybody, and then you go through, hey, let me break it. Here's the big idea. You can see the full picture, and then let me just help you zoom in on what you're really looking at. I love it.
Yeah. So it's essentially, and you can break it down and add elements to a webinar. We're working with a gentleman, Corey, who is in apartments, right? And he sells multifamily apartments. He tries to get investors. So we've created this whole visual map on the story behind why you would want to invest with him. And we show data on how millennials are going into apartments now, how baby boomers are coming out of homes and going into apartments and things of that nature because they don't want big houses. And then in the middle, I mean, it's a whole nother story, and so he's going to use that to kind of attract investors, give them a big picture of what's going on in the industry, and show them you can do CDs, you can do bonds, you can do the stock market, but those are not going to compare to this vehicle. We actually have like a drag race going on in the middle of the picture. So from an art side, I wanted to show you that, but then also, for anyone out there listening in and viewing this, that's another kind of tool that we can create from the work, from your sales pitch, essentially. But that one, along with, like, I see for you could create something probably this like this for your stuff to get people bought in. Let me share this one real quickly. This is more of, ads going into a funnel. And this was done for a guy who was doing a DIY kitchen cabinetry, basically taking orders over the phone, driving those orders into kind of a warehouse distribution center, and showing how his team can go into homes and install these cabinets and things of this nature for consumers, going direct to the consumer. But when you laid out your webinar mapping, all the value you provide, I mean, you could take that whole thing and do something like that and show the value. I mean, because the more you can show people what you're offering them and all the little things you're providing, just the value goes through the roof.
The whole customer journey, the big picture of the customer journey is huge because they're so far, like everyone's so busy and they're so focused on their unique business unit. They're actually in an adversarial relationship with other parts of their business. It's like the sales is in conflict with the marketing and conflict with the management. And ultimately they just get so reactive to different things, and you show them the whole entire, here's what your customer is doing. Like that has been the biggest opportunity for me to just say, hey, I'm going to secret shop your business and tell you how your salespeople are trying to sell me 3 different things from 3 different ways, which one is the right way. And then I take your pitch and I play prospect to a couple other people in your industry. And then I talk to a handful of people with satisfied customers and ask them for referrals. And why aren't they referring to, like, their response to the question of who would you refer for me is indicative of how embarrassing it is to work with you. So it's like, I bring a whole jury with me to these, sales conversations. It's like, hey, well, you say that you guys are doing this. Well, here's what your customer is saying, and here's what your salesperson's saying, and what is the reality? How about we all get on the same page? We get that you dictate. Like, I'm not. This is not me. This is you. We build in consulting into the deliverable piece. So it's both consulting and deliverable, and a guarantee with optimization. So it's really cool. I knew I was a fan of you because I knew you're smarter and faster than me. So
Well, I think it's a nice, just synergistic, there's just energy going on that, I can learn from you, and I think vice versa. So it's really, really cool to connect with other entrepreneurs who are artists. I always like to say I'm a businessman first, artist second, because I know what artists are out there that are just artists and how tough it can be for them because they don't know how to sell their stuff and don't know how to market. But that's another story for another day. Where do you want to go from here? Do you want to stay connected? Do you want to?
I still see an opportunity where I don't really like. I use webinars as a conversion mechanism, and there is lead generation to it. But I like working with people who already have customer lists and want to maximize the relationship through one-to-many media. Like, because there's lots of different ways that you can use a webinar, and it's to continue to deepen the relationship with your customer base. So if you have, I just feel like there's like a reciprocal kind of opportunity between the two of us.
Yeah.
If you, I wasn't super clear. I just have so much. So I'm so excited from the stuff you just showed me. I just have I've got my own self-interest involved now, rather than originally I was like coming to you because I feel like I could help you.
Yeah.
Now I'm just like, damn it, I have to catch up. I want to be able. I would like to continue the conversation if you think it's appropriate. I think that there's definitely some symbiotic stuff going on here. So
Sure. Yeah. So for now, we'll close out this conversation and we'll keep talking. If people want to get a hold of you, I'd have them come through me, and then I can I'd be glad to share with them who you are and what you're all about. But if you want to just send an email to vpalco@adtunes.com and want to get a hold of Eric, and his team, that would be awesome. And if you have any interest in learning to draw basic stuff, and it's not so much, it's more just like what Eric and I were talking about, having the confidence to do it in front of folks. I am actually teamed up with my mentor, Matt Fury. We've got a group called the Creative Genius Academy, and where it's a 30-day challenge. You get a lot of amazing coaching from Matt Fury, and you get a lot of drawing coaching from me. And it's a real powerful group that's just kind of starting off, and we're having a lot of fun building it. But, there's a lot of benefits to it from a business standpoint. What we're finding is there's no little exercise every day. It's only like a 5-minute drill, and it's super relaxing, and it's a great way to start the day. Eric I know, probably from your perspective, whenever you start doodling, it gets super relaxing, and you go into your own little world. And that's what we want to share with you. So if that's of interest, reach out to me on that front. We'd love to put you in touch with for more information on that front. But I don't know, any parting comments, and then we'll kind of talk offline.
I think this has been a profound conversation, and showing people what you just did for me. You can't see the prescription when you're inside the bottle, and seeing the frame both inside and outside to just shows the value. Like I'm good at this stuff. I do this stuff, and then to show you what I'm doing and how you fed it back to me, it just was profound. Like I can only encourage anybody to just meet with someone and have them doodle back whatever they're doing. Like, you can't see the stuff. It's like in the back of your head to just have it visualized in front of you, regardless of whether you use it for marketing collateral or not. I just would encourage anybody to sit with a piece of paper and a pencil and just get it out. So that's all. I'm just trying to keep banging that drum.
No one's watching you. No one's critiquing it. It's you against you, and you can have a lot of fun with it. And, to take it to the next level, I really feel that my wheelhouse, is that I have a knack for when I'm working with people writing copy. It's the aha moments that, taking two unlike things and bringing them together, right? To get more understanding from the general masses. And I've got dozens and dozens of examples, but the best way I can share with you is, if you take that schematic that we just drew for you, and it's got, the W, it's almost like a winner's circle that you're, driving people into. I mean, there could be like a little race schematic. There could be almost like an Olympic theme where you have, like a winning webinar in the first place, and you're going to keep helping people achieve that. I mean, there's so many different metaphors that we could use with what you're doing to just turn them into simple things like you see on the screen with this home and this truck, and really putting them into analogies that connect with people on the value that you're providing to really take it to the next level. So really, really fun to be with you on the call, and thanks for reaching out, and look forward to exploring more with you, man.
I'm excited too. Thanks for being my long distance mentor.
Yeah. This has been fun. So let me stop this.